I never believed in paranoia. I was always the kind of person who needed logic, proof, explanations. That changed the night I realized someone was standing outside my house. Every single night, at exactly 17 a.m. I worked the night shift at a logistics warehouse on the edge of the city. My routine was simple. I came home around 5:30 in the morning, ate whatever was left in the fridge, and slept through most of the day. The house I lived in was small. 1 floor, 2 rooms, and a narrow backyard that ended at an empty plot of land. That plot had been abandoned for years. No lights, no fence, just dry soil, broken bricks, and a few dead trees that looked like twisted hands reaching into the sky. During the day, it looked harmless. At night, it felt different. The first time it happened, I didn't think much of it. I woke up suddenly, heart racing, with that strange feeling that someone was nearby. Not inside the house, not watching me, just close. I checked my phone. 2:17 a.m. I shrugged it off and rolled over, blaming it on stress and irregular sleep. But the next night, it happened again. Same feeling, same pressure in my chest, same time. 2:17 a.m. This time, I sat up in bed and listened. The house was silent. No fans, no traffic noise, not even dogs barking. That's when I noticed something else. The air felt heavy, as if the night itself was holding its breath. On the third night, curiosity got the better of me. When I woke up at 2:17, I slowly walked to the window facing the backyard. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't open the curtains fully. I just peeked through a small gap. The backyard was empty. The abandoned plot beyond it was dark and still. No movement, no sound. I let out a nervous laugh and whispered to myself, "You're imagining things." I went back to bed. The next morning, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. Near the back wall of my house, the soil looked disturbed, not dug up, not messy, just compressed, like someone had been standing there for a long time. I told myself it was probably a stray dog. I had to tell myself that. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting. To 10 a.m., 2:14 a.m., to 16 a.m. My phone screen lit up. 2:17 a.m., and that's when I heard it. A sound, soft, dry, human, a cough. It came from right outside my bedroom window. Not loud, not aggressive, almost polite. I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The cough happened again, followed by the faint sound of someone shifting their weight, as if they were standing there, getting comfortable. I wanted to grab my phone. I wanted to turn on the lights, but fear glued me to the bed. After what felt like minutes, the sound stopped. No footsteps, no retreating noise, just silence. The next day, I installed a cheap motion detection app on my old spare phone and placed it facing the backyard window. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to sound crazy. That night, I sat in the living room, fully awake, watching the time. 2:16 a.m. Nothing happened. 2:17 a.m. My phone vibrated. Motion detected. My hands were shaking as I picked it up and opened the recording. At first, The screen was almost completely black. Then something moved. A shape stepped closer to the window. A man. He stood just outside the frame of light, his face hidden in shadow. But I could tell one thing clearly. He wasn't looking at the house. He was looking directly at the camera, and his lips were moving. I turned the volume up. The audio was faint, distorted, but his words were clear enough to understand. He whispered, "He's sleeping again." I didn't sleep after watching that video. I sat on the couch until sunrise. Every light in the house turned on, replaying the recording over and over again. The man's face never became clear, no matter how many times I watched it. But one detail kept bothering me. He spoke as if he already knew me. "He's sleeping again." Not, "Someone is sleeping." Not, "There's a person inside." At work that morning, I told myself I was overreacting. People break into yards all the time. Maybe it was a drunk, maybe someone passing through. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Because drunk people don't come at the exact same time every night. That evening, before leaving for work, I checked the backyard in daylight. The disturbed soil was there again. This time, there were footprints. Large, heavy. They stopped right below my bedroom window. Then, they turned around and walked back toward the abandoned plot. Whoever this was, he knew exactly where I slept. I locked every door, every window. I even placed a chair against the bedroom door. Still, when night came, fear followed. At work, I couldn't focus. I kept checking the time. 1:58 a.m., 2:05 a.m., to 11 a.m. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. I almost dropped it. This time, the video was clearer. The man was standing closer to the window, close enough that I could see the outline of his shoulders, his neck, his head slightly tilted, like he was listening. Then he raised his hand and knocked. Not hard, not fast. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. The sound came through the recording. My blood ran cold. The knocking wasn't on the door. It was on my bedroom window. I left work early and drove straight home. I didn't care about explanations. I didn't care about money. I needed answers. Inside the house, everything looked normal. No broken glass, no forced entry. But when I checked my phone's storage, my heart stopped. There were multiple recordings, not just from last night, from the night before, and the night before that. I opened the oldest one. The man wasn't there. The second recording, he appeared at the edge of the frame. By the third night, he was closer. Every night, he stood a little nearer to the window, learning, observing, waiting. That's when I noticed something else. In the latest video, as he leaned toward the glass, I could hear him breathing, slow, controlled. Then he whispered something new. Tomorrow, he won't sleep. I packed a bag that night. I planned to leave before sunset and stay with a friend. But before I could, there was a knock at my front door. I checked the clock. 2:17 p.m. Daytime. My heart pounded. I looked through the peephole. No one was there, but taped to the door was a piece of dirty, folded paper. I opened it with shaking hands. Written in uneven letters were 4 words. I see you awake. I didn't stay. I grabbed my bag and ran. As I reached my car, I glanced back at the house one last time. And there he was, standing in the abandoned plot, in broad daylight, looking straight at me, smiling. I didn't go to my friend's place. I don't know why. Maybe it was denial. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe part of me wanted to understand what was happening. Instead, I parked 2 streets away and waited. I kept my eyes on the house. The sun went down slowly, turning the sky the same dull orange I remembered from the first night. When darkness finally settled in, the house looked smaller, weaker. I checked the time, 1:59 a.m. My phone buzzed, not a motion alert, a message from an unknown number. It contained only one sentence. "You're early tonight." My stomach dropped. I couldn't run anymore. I walked back to the house with my phone in my hand, recording everything. The front door was still locked. The windows were intact. Inside, nothing had been touched, except for one thing. On the kitchen table was my spare phone. The one I used as a camera. I hadn't brought it inside. And yet, there it was. The screen was on, playing a video. The footage wasn't from last night. It was older, much older. The timestamp read, April 17th, 2011, 2:17 a.m. I didn't live here in 2011. I didn't even know this house existed back then. In the video, a man sat on the bed. Not me, someone else, younger, terrified. The camera angle was the same, facing the backyard window, and outside was the same man, same posture, same shadowed face. The man in the bed whispered, "Please, go away." The man outside tilted his head and smiled. The video cut to black. Another clip started automatically. 2014, 2:17 a.m. Different person, same room, same fear. Then another, 2017, 2020, 2022. Different faces, same ending. None of the videos went past 2:17. I dropped the phone. That's when I heard breathing. Behind me. Slow. Familiar. I didn't turn around. I already knew. He spoke softly, right next to my ear. "You stay longer than most." I finally faced him. His face was still hard to see, like the shadows refused to leave him. But his smile was clear. Too clear. I asked him the only question that mattered. "Why me?" He laughed quietly, not amused, almost tired. "You think I chose you?" He pointed toward the bedroom window. "This house did." I ran. I don't remember leaving the house. I don't remember getting into my car. I only remember driving until sunrise. I never went back. Months later, I searched for the address online. I found an old article buried deep in the results. Unsolved disappearances linked to abandoned property. The house was mentioned. So was the empty plot behind it. Witnesses claimed people would wake up at exactly 2:17 a.m., complaining that someone was watching them sleep. None of them stayed longer than a few weeks. None of them were ever found. I thought it was over until last night. I woke up suddenly, my heart racing, that familiar pressure in my chest. I checked my phone, 2:17 a.m., and from outside my apartment door, I heard a soft, polite cough. I've never considered myself an easily scared person. I don't jump at shadows, and I don't believe in the supernatural. At least, I didn't. Not until I moved into that house. It was a small rental on the edge of town. 1 story, 2 bedrooms, a flat roof that hadn't been maintained in years. The landlord said no one ever went up there. There was no ladder, no exterior stairs, no access point. At the time, that didn't bother me. The first night, I woke up suddenly with my heart pounding. I didn't know why at first. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Footsteps coming from directly above my bedroom. I checked my phone. 2:42 a.m. I stayed still, listening. The footsteps stopped after a few seconds. I told myself it was probably the house settling. Old buildings make noise. I rolled over and went back to sleep. The second night, it happened again. Same sound, same location, same time. 2:42 a.m. This time, the footsteps didn't stop right away. Whoever or whatever was up there walked back and forth, as if pacing. Each step was careful, almost respectful, like they knew exactly how much noise they could make. I sat up in bed, holding my breath. After about a minute, everything went quiet. By the third night, I was already on edge. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting. 2:40 a.m. to 41 a.m. 2:42 a.m. The sound started immediately. Footsteps directly above me. I grabbed my phone and started recording audio. My voice shook as I called out, "Who's up there?" The footsteps stopped instantly. Not faded, not walked away, just stopped, like whoever it was had frozen in place. The next morning, I climbed onto the roof using a neighbor's ladder. There was no damage, no trash, no signs of anyone being there, except for one thing. In the layer of dust and dirt near the center of the roof were bare footprints. Human. They were positioned directly above my bedroom, and they were facing the window. I called the landlord right away. He laughed it off. "No one's been on that roof in years," he said. "There's no way to get up there." When I told him about the footprints, he went quiet. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. "That's impossible. The roof was cleaned last week." That night, I didn't plan on sleeping. I placed my phone on the dresser, camera pointed toward the ceiling, and turned on a voice recorder. At 2:41 a.m., I felt that familiar tension in my chest. At 2:42 a.m., the footsteps returned, louder this time, closer. Then something new happened. The footsteps stopped, and I heard breathing, slow, controlled, right above my head. The next morning, I checked the recording. The footsteps were there, the breathing was there, and at the very end of the audio, just before it cut off, a whisper, clear as day. He woke up again. I decided to move out. I started packing that same afternoon. But before I could leave, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was only one sentence. "Tonight, I won't walk." I didn't sleep that night. Not because the footsteps came back, but because they didn't. 2:42 a.m. passed in complete silence. No pacing, no breathing, no movement. That silence felt worse than the noise ever had. The next morning, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. My bedroom window was unlocked. I never leave it that way. I checked the frame. There were faint smudges on the glass, like someone had pressed their forehead against it, right at the height where a person would stand on the roof. I confronted the landlord again. This time, he wasn't joking. He hesitated before speaking, like he was choosing his words carefully. There were complaints from the previous tenant, he admitted, mostly about noises. I asked him what kind. He paused. Movement. At night. That afternoon, I searched the address online, buried deep in local forum posts and archived listings. I found mentions of the house going vacant repeatedly. Every tenant moved out within a few months. No explanations, no formal complaints, just silence. That night, I set up a second phone. One pointed at the bedroom ceiling, the other aimed at the window. I wanted proof. I wanted something concrete. At 2:41 a.m., my chest tightened. At 2:42 a.m., I heard it. Not footsteps, a soft scraping sound, like skin brushing against concrete. Slow, deliberate, moving closer. The window camera picked it up. A shadow passed over the glass, not walking, crawling, upside down, like someone clinging to the edge of the roof. I couldn't see the face, but I could see the hands. Bare, fingers bent at unnatural angles, gripping the ledge. Then came the tapping. Not knocking, tapping, one finger at a time. Tap, tap, tap. I stayed completely still. If I moved, I felt like it would know. The next morning, I reviewed the footage. At exactly 2:42 a.m., the camera froze for 3 seconds. When it came back, the shadow was gone, but something else appeared. On the inside of the glass, a handprint. From the inside, I packed faster. Boxes everywhere. No plan. Just leave. That's when I found the attic hatch. I hadn't noticed it before. It was sealed shut with old screws and layers of paint. Someone had tried very hard to keep it closed. I unscrewed it. Inside the attic, the air smelled damp and stale, and there were footprints. Not dust, not dirt. Fresh, leading from the hatch toward the corner directly above my bedroom. In that corner, scratched into the wood, were words, dozens of them. Same sentence, over and over, carved deep. DONT look up at 2:42. That night, I didn't stay. I locked the door and drove until my hands stopped shaking. I checked into a motel on the highway. I thought I was safe. At 2:42 a.m., my phone buzzed. A notification from the window camera app, the one still inside the house. Motion detected. Attached was a single image, taken from inside my bedroom, pointed at the bed I wasn't in, and standing next to it. Something was looking up. I didn't sleep at the motel. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone, replaying the image over and over again. The picture wasn't blurry. It wasn't distorted. Whatever was standing next to my bed had a shape. Human. Too human. But the proportions were wrong. The arms were too long. The head tilted back at an angle no neck should allow. And it was looking up. At the ceiling. At sunrise, I went back to the house. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed to prove to myself that fear hadn't taken over my mind. The front door was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked. Inside, the house felt different, heavy, crowded, like I wasn't alone anymore. The attic hatch was open. The ladder was down. I climbed up slowly, my phone light shaking with every step. The attic wasn't empty. There were belongings up there. Old suitcases, discarded clothes, stacks of notebooks. Someone had been living there. I opened one of the notebooks. It belonged to a previous tenant. The entries were dated years apart. Different handwriting, different names, but the same sentence appeared in every notebook. It doesn't walk. It drags itself. That's when I understood. The footsteps weren't footsteps. They were hands, palms slapping against concrete. The sound I thought was pacing was something crawling. In the far corner of the attic, I found a hole, a narrow opening cut into the roof, large enough for a person to slip through. The edges were worn smooth, used frequently. Behind me, the attic creaked, slow, careful. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I heard the sound I recognized too well, skin dragging against wood. It spoke, not in a whisper this time. Right above me. People always think I'm on the roof. Its voice sounded tired, almost sad. I'm actually closer. I ran. I don't remember climbing down. I don't remember opening the door. I only remember sunlight and air and distance. I reported the house. Police searched it. They found no one. The attic was empty. No notebooks. No hole. No evidence. The house was listed again 3 months later. I moved to a new city. A new apartment. Top floor. No attic. No roof access. I thought I was safe. Last night, I woke up suddenly. That same pressure in my chest. That same instinctive fear. I checked the time. 2:42 a.m. Above me, the ceiling was silent. Then I heard it. A soft sound from inside the walls. A dragging motion. Slow, patient, getting closer. I lived in a quiet neighborhood. The kind of place where nothing ever really happened. No loud parties. No late-night traffic. Just empty streets after sunset. That's why, when it started, I didn't take it seriously. At first, one morning, when I opened my front door to leave for work, I noticed something strange. In the middle of the street, directly facing my house, there was an old wooden chair. It wasn't broken. It wasn't tipped over. It was placed neatly, carefully, like someone wanted it to be seen. I looked around. No people, no cars, no movement. I picked the chair up and carried it to a nearby empty lot, then tossed it aside. I told myself it was probably a prank. Kids do stupid things. The next morning, the chair was back, same spot, same direction, facing my front door. This time, I felt a slight chill crawl up my spine. Still, I moved it again, farther this time. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to sound paranoid. On the third night, I decided to stay awake. I turned off all the lights and watched. The street through a small gap in the curtains. 1:45 a.m., 2 a.m. The street was empty. Then, at around 2:07 a.m., I heard a sound. A dragging noise. Slow, heavy, wood scraping against pavement. The sound was coming closer. My heart started pounding. I leaned closer to the window. Out of the darkness, a shape appeared. Someone was crouched low, struggling to pull something along the road. The chair. They dragged it to the exact spot in front of my house. They adjusted it, straightened it. Then they stepped back. The figure stood still for several seconds. Then they turned their head and looked directly at my front door, at me. Even though I knew they couldn't see me through the curtains, I felt exposed, like they knew exactly where I was standing. I yelled, "Hey, who are you?" The figure didn't move, didn't run, didn't react. After a few seconds, they slowly stepped backward and disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, the chair was still there, but this time, something was written on the seat. White chalk. The letters were uneven, shaky. I bent down to read it. It said, "Still empty." I didn't understand what it meant, but from that day on, I started locking my door every night. Because the more I thought about it, the more one thing became clear. That chair wasn't being placed there for decoration. It wasn't a prank. It was being left there for someone who was supposed to sit in it. I didn't touch the chair that morning. I walked past it without looking at the words again and went straight to work. All day, the image stayed in my head. Still empty. Empty of what? Or empty of who? That evening, I asked my next door neighbor about it. He frowned the moment I mentioned the chair. "You see it too?" he asked quietly. That was the first time I felt real fear. He told me he'd noticed it a few nights earlier, but thought it was someone else's problem. "People around here don't stay long," he said. "They move out." When I got home, the chair was gone. For the first time since this started, the street was clear. That should have made me feel better. Instead, I felt watched. That night, I slept with my bedroom door locked. At around 2:06 a.m., I woke up suddenly, not to a sound, but to silence. The kind of silence that feels intentional. Then I heard it. A soft scrape, not outside, inside the house. It came from the living room. Wood sliding slowly across the floor. I stayed frozen in bed, staring at the door. The scraping stopped right outside my bedroom. Then something touched the door. Not a knock, just pressure, like a hand resting against it. I held my breath. Seconds passed, then a quiet sound. The chair being placed down. Carefully, gently, I didn't open the door. I couldn't. The silence stretched on until my body ached from staying still. Eventually, I heard movement again. Footsteps retreating. The front door opening. Then nothing. When morning came, my bedroom door was still locked. I opened it slowly. The chair was in the hallway, facing my room. On the seat was another message. Same chalk, same handwriting. It said, "Closer is better." I called the police. They didn't laugh, but they didn't look concerned either. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. No witnesses. They suggested I install cameras. That afternoon, I did exactly that. One camera faced the front door, one faced the living room. That night, I stayed awake, watching the feed. 2:05 a.m., 2:06 a.m. The living room camera flickered, just for a second. When the image came back, the chair was already there, No one placing it, no movement, just there. Then the front door camera activated. The door was open, and someone was standing just outside. They didn't step in, they just sat down, on nothing, as if the chair existed for them, but not for the camera. I didn't sleep after that. I sat on the couch, watching the camera feed until the sun came up. The chair never moved. It just stayed there in the hallway, facing my bedroom door, like it was waiting. The next morning, I went back through the camera footage, frame by frame. There was no moment where the chair was carried inside. No shadow, no reflection, no sound. 1 second, the hallway was empty. The next, the chair existed. I started digging. Old neighborhood records, property listings, archived news articles. That's when I found it. A short article from over 20 years ago. Local man found dead sitting in chair outside his home. The address was mine. The photo was grainy, but I recognized the chair immediately. Same scratches on the legs, same crack in the backrest. The article said neighbors found him early in the morning, seated in the middle of the street, eyes open, no signs of struggle. The official cause of death was listed as unknown. I went to my neighbor, the same one who had warned me. When I showed him the article, he went pale. They said he waited out there every night. He whispered, sat in that chair, staring at the house. I asked why. He shook his head. They said he was waiting for his turn. That night, I locked myself in the bedroom. The cameras were still running. At 2:07 a.m., every screen went black, all at once. Then my bedroom light turned on. The chair was at the foot of my bed. I hadn't heard it move. I hadn't heard anything at all. Written on the seat, in the same white chalk, was a new message. The final message. No longer empty. I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember choosing to. I only remember the feeling of relief. Like I'd finally done what I was supposed to do. They found the chair outside the next morning, facing the house, occupied. I don't know who you are, but if you ever wake up and see a chair placed neatly in front of your home, don't move it, because it isn't there for decoration. It's there to see if you're ready to sit.